Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. They do analysis of prisoners when they're released to try and establish how many go back to what they were doing before and end up in jail again. It's called recidivism. And they talk about rates of recidivism, 60% rate of recidivism, 70% rate of recidivism, whatever. Recently, a man walked into a bank without a mask, and he attempted to rob the bank. They gave him money, he walked out, and as he walked out, they caught him. And he said, I wanted to go back to jail. That was where he was comfortable. In the recitation of the zikr, when we repeat the names of God, the remembrance of reality, we always begin with Astaghfirullah Azim, Astaghfirullah Azim, Astaghfirullah Azim, which means, God, forgive me. Why? Because we are all recidivists. We all return to the crimes we've committed and commit them again. Now, these crimes don't necessarily reach the level of societal abnormalities that put you back in jail or put you in jail, but they do reach the level of falling from the path of purity and falling into the ways we used to be. The nefs, our lower self, that which is within us, that is attuned to the world, is constantly clamoring to bring us back in to the illusory world and all of the traits that come with the involvement within it. We are constantly being bombarded by all of the different characteristics of the world, all of the grasping and pulling and hypnotisms and fascinations and glitters of the world. And we have parts of us that are attracted to all of that within us, and sometimes at a moment when we are not as conscious or as strong or as clear thinking as we should be, we drift in that direction and things can enter into our being, like desire, like overwhelming desire, like greed, like lust, like the need for things that is greater than the need for our connection to Allah. And so, whenever we are in the midst of the world, and the world becomes more important to us than our understanding of reality, and the world clouds our understanding of reality, and the world pulls us away from our understanding of reality, we have to ask for forgiveness. And we have to ask for the one who gives all to give us back a state of purity, to allow us into the realm of those he has chosen. So we say, Astaghfirullah Azim, Astaghfirullah Azim. Lord, please forgive me for all the wrongs that I have done. Please forgive me for all the times that I have strayed from your path, knowingly and unknowingly. Within us, as we move forward, we are not allowed to imagine that we have left the world and entered reality. We have to understand that as far as we've gotten, we still have a long way to go. And this is where humility is. Humility is in not imagining that we've accomplished all there is to accomplish in our relationship to our Lord. We are small and He is great, and we need to constantly strive forward to become more pure, more pure, more pure. Astaghfirullah Azim, Astaghfirullah Azim, Astaghfirullah Azim. If we think we've gotten to the place of purity, that thought alone is indicative of the fact that we haven't gotten to the place of purity. Astaghfirullah Azim, Astaghfirullah Azim, Astaghfirullah Azim. We must be humble before our Lord. We must prostrate before our Lord. In that bowing, in the placing of the head on the ground, there is an acknowledgement that this is the King Supreme, and we bow before the King Supreme, and we surrender to the King Supreme. Now, quite simply, we don't spend our life with our head on the floor. Astaghfirullah Azim, Astaghfirullah Azim, Astaghfirullah Azim. We are not in a constant state of remembering that we have work to do. We are often on vacation from the path, yet we cannot be on vacation from the path. We have to somehow understand that the path is our vacation from the world. The path is our sanctuary. The path is our escape. The path is our repose. And within purity, we find the truth. Within purity, we find rest. Within purity, we find freedom. And as we move away from this, we become burdened in much greater ways constantly. The further we move from purity, the further we become burdened with all of the burdens in the world. As we lay those burdens down, we become different. We become released. We begin to find ourselves in different places with different people. My old friends don't treat me like they used to since I laid my burdens down. And that's the truth. They can't abide you without the same miseries that they have. They can't be in your company if you don't have the same miseries that they have. Misery loves company, and it wants you to join in the congregation of misery. And what we're trying to do is leave that congregation of misery. Astaghfirullah azim, astaghfirullah azim, astaghfirullah azim. It's in forgiveness that we are forgiven. And we need to be in a constant state of understanding that we need to be forgiven. We need to be in a constant state of striving for purity. Our act, our effort is to strive for purity. Whether we become pure is in Allah's hands, but we must strive for purity. And one of the acts of striving for purity is Astaghfirullah azim, Astaghfirullah azim, Astaghfirullah azim. God is our aid in striving for purity. God is our helpmate in striving for purity. God is the one who allows us to see the reward of purity. And as we become more and more pure, we become less and less. We go on towards disappearing. And when we are less and less, there's less for the world to attack. There's less for the world to latch onto. There's less interest in the world. Once Bawa came to visit my wife and I, where we lived in southern New Jersey, and we had set him up for a talk in one of the shore towns, but we had a few hours before the talk, and we had prepared lunch for the people who came from Philadelphia, and I went through an itinerary of some of the things I had planned for him to do that day. And he looked at me and he said, Tomby, which means little brother, he says, I don't have any interest in these things. And that was a point that he constantly made to me. When you talk to him about things in the world and doing things in the world, he didn't have an interest in these things. Now, if you had an interest in these things, he would indulge you for a little while to talk about it with you and to try to solve the entanglement that you were in so that you can disentangle. But he wouldn't get you more involved in it. And this is what we have to learn. We have to learn how to become disentangled. So whatever dilemma that we're in, whatever misery that holds on to us, we have to learn how to become disentangled from it. We have to learn how to undo the knots that bind us to whatever it is that holds us from being able to move towards purity by involving us in the world. Praise and blame, fame and fortune, land and gold, women and men, these are all entanglements. These are all things that will tie us in knots in the world. Yet, to many people, they seem to be what life is about. The dichotomy is astonishing. Some people are defining life by these terms, and other people are trying to escape into real life from these terms. And we're constantly somewhere on that scale. Astaghfirullah azim, Astaghfirullah Azim. God, forgive me for being interested in fame and fortune. God, forgive me for being interested in praise and blame. God, forgive me for being interested in the glitters and the fascinations and the magnetisms of the world. Even if we only think about these things and don't involve ourselves, we still are involved because the internal in us is involved. And there is this gradation from physical involvement to dropping physical involvement to mental involvement and dropping mental involvement. We can't just be appropriate on the outside. We have chosen the path where we have to be appropriate on the inside also, so that the outside is not a hypocritical showing, but rather an inline alignment with who we are inside. So if we've given up things on the outside, we have to align ourselves inside so that the desires that brought about all of these needs also begins to disappear. We have to temper our desires. We have to hold our desires in control. And we need Allah's help in doing all these things. Astaghfirullah Azim. And we also have to get over the guilt of recidivism. When we do these things, we take on mental trauma from the fact that we did them, whatever they are. And then we have to go through releasing ourselves once again from the grips of money, the grips of needs, the grips of desires, the grips of whatever it is that we come in contact with that grabs us. And even if it grabs us for a moment, and we need to understand that we are always capable of being grabbed. We are always capable of going the wrong way through some weakness in our being. There's a story of a sheikh who was one of the kindest men on earth, and he was always giving of himself to others and trying to do on behalf of others. And Satan was very interested in somehow getting to this man. And the man had totally released himself from everything on the outside. And Satan turned himself into a snake and crawled by this man and spoke to him. And he said, there are people who are trying to kill me. They're following me. I need your help. And this man, who was always ready to help, said, I will do what I can. But this man's weakness was that he was of the opinion that he could help and that he could do these things. And the truth is, nothing comes from us. It only comes from God. So he told the snake, I'll hide you under my turban. And the snake said, that's not enough. They'll take your hat off. He said, I'll put you underneath my chair. He said, they'll pull you off and look under there. And the man said, well, what's the solution? He said, you have to swallow me. The only way you can hide me is to have me inside of you. And the man, because of his overriding nature to always be in the position where he was looked at as the helper, swallowed him without having the wisdom of what this would cause. And he ended up swallowing Satan, and Satan killed him from the inside. So there's always some sort of weakness in us, even though that weakness may be disguising itself as some sort of positive attribute. We need to be conscious of it. We need to be conscious of our limitations. We need to be conscious of our difficulties. We need to be conscious of the constant array of distractions that run through the mind. It's like sitting in front of a movie and everything is projected on the screen. Well, our mind is like that screen, and there's a constant array of projections. And every once in a while, we go, wait, get that one a little bit better in focus. And we become trapped, and we become attached, and we chase. And during the time of that attachment, consciousness that would normally pull us away from that is lost. It's like binge eaters. They know they've eaten enough, but that consciousness of having eaten enough is lost to them. It no longer is able to control their action. So, when we are in a state where we are no longer able to control our action, we've lost our consciousness. And it's actually in this loss of consciousness, in this loss of God realization, that we need to ask forgiveness for. And this is the state we have to return to. We have to return to the state of consciousness that God is in charge of everything, and that our path is towards Him to align with His will and to align with His intention and to align with His qualities. When we lose our hold on His qualities, we lose our hold on consciousness, and we lose our ability to resist the hypnotisms and magnetisms and desires produced by the world. And that's why prayer is necessary throughout the day. That's why there has to be a repetition on a timely basis where you take hold of yourself and say, I have to stop now to reinvigorate my ability to withstand the world. I have to stop now to once again make an active, sincere connection with my Lord. I have to stop now to go into sanctuary, to go into a place that's separated from the world and is protected by Him, because this is what He told us to do. And when we go into a place where we do what He told us to do, His protection comes to us in order to assist us in doing that. Astaghfirullah Azim, Astaghfirullah Azim, Astaghfirullah Azim. So, as we ask for forgiveness, we also ask for protection. As we ask for protection, we ask for guidance. As we ask for guidance, we ask for mercy and compassion. We ask for His qualities. We ask that His qualities be showered through His grace on us so that we can become more and more like Him and unto Him. So the parts of us that are not like Him disappear, and the parts of us that are attracted to that which is not like Him disappears, so that we can go further and further into Him and out of ourself. And may that become the way for each of us, and may that path